Today's show is sponsored by ExpressVPN, one-click protection for all your devices. Securing yourself could not be easier. Visit expressvpn.com/funhouse. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Filmhaus, the film podcast where we do everything from talking about new movies, reviewing movies, previewing what's to come, and also dissecting a bracket last week about what was the most disturbing film ever made that Elise and I weren't even on because we had to eat lunch sometime later that day. Anyway, it's a pretty variety show. And speaking of variety show, we have two guests this week because we're talking about the Snyder Cut, Justice League, the Snyder Cut. And I'm really excited for both of these guests. I know I say that, but one of them's always Elise, so that counts. But we have Elise Williams on the show.
And I brought a very diverse opinion today.
Did you?
I did.
I watched it with you. You spent most of the time just smiling up at the screen. So,
okay.
And then we also have Marcus Turner of the Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
That's me. Hi.
Hey, Marcus. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here talking about my favorite director's latest film.
Hold on a minute. I feel like I know you well enough to know that that's not true.
No. I'm a born again Snyder fan. I've reformed. Yeah.
So
I'm
real
a new
quick,
man.
That's great to know. And speaking of new man, let's just, for anyone who isn't familiar, Marcus, you have a YouTube channel, Cosmonaut Variety Hour. You do really great, concise movie reviews, criticisms, observations. Yep. You also have like more fun stuff on there as well. And not that isn't fun, but you have all kinds of variety hour, as it were. But I'm really excited to have you on because do you want to give me a little backstory and our audience a little backstory about your relationship going into this review?
Oh boy. Well, I think a lot of people who like review movies or do like movie stuff on, the internet, Zack Snyder's a fun little punching bag for a while. His movies have been a little shaky. Mm-hmm. And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I didn't think I wasn't excited to watch this movie. I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to sit and watch 4 hours of a movie that I've already not liked. Mm-hmm. So I have, for the past, I think 2 years, once they started like tweeting about the Snyder Cut, I was like, no, this isn't real. One, it's not going to be good. Two, and then, I've been wrong a few times.
Wow. Whoa. Wow.
So I'm not afraid to admit it. I may have been wrong.
I think that's very, very big of you. A little background on me. I'm a Snyder apologist. Which is not the same as a Snyder fan, mind you. A Snyder apologist is one who enjoys Snyder, but also understands that you have to begin conversations by apologizing for that.
That's true.
So that's what I am. Elise, how are you in the Snyder camp?
Or am I on the Snyder? It's not like I'm now hoping for the Snucker cut or anything, which is the sucker punch Snyder cut, the way he wanted that movie. We already got
that. I own it on Blu-ray, man.
They did do the extended where she dances. I've seen it. I personally am mixed on Zack Snyder. I think 300 is a balls to the wall awesome movie. Yeah. I think the first 10 minutes of Watchmen is some of the best concise origin storytelling you could do. And I think the rest of that movie is something I enjoy a lot. I didn't like Man of Steel. I remember loving Man of Steel, James. And I
apologized. Remember, I said, I'm sorry, but I love that movie. So,
and my biggest, or my sole appraisal of the Whedon Justice League was that I at least wasn't bored. That was kind of the best I could give it, was that I wasn't bored, because I did feel I was a bit bored in Batman versus Superman at times, and Man of Steel, I was a bit bored. Mm-hmm. But I am hopeful for Zack Snyder. I consider him to sometimes, miss the mark. And I think, like Marcus, probably, I am mixed. Are we all in this weird gray area where we're like, we enjoyed it? Me. I guess we'll get to that.
I'm in a hyper-saturated area that moves in slow motion. So, we all have very different backgrounds. And just just for anyone who's been living under a rock, basically we're talking about the Snyder Cut, which is a 4-hour movie that is basically a recut of a movie that already came out several years ago. Zack Snyder directed Justice League, which was his follow-up to Batman v Superman, basically made the whole thing, and then Warner Brothers decided, we don't want this, pulled him out of the project. I think he said he stepped away at the time, but they brought in basically Joss Whedon to make what I think is a completely tonally different film than what had been shot at the time. That movie came out and people were like, well, this isn't good. Some of us were like, at least it's over quick.
It's watchable.
It's watchable. But
offensive.
They made the mistake of having a trailer released beforehand, which anytime that happens and people go, wait, that wasn't in it. Now there's like an online campaign. We've also talked about how there's people, Snyder occultists, people much more serious than myself, who really believe in his vision and kept insisting that there was this movie. And Zack Snyder even alluded to being this movie. Lo and behold, Warner Brothers has a SVOD service that they really got to make content for. And so they decide, okay, fine. We'll let you do your Snyder Cut and put it back together again. And the end result is a 4-hour film with how many? 6 chapters and an epilogue and a whole lot going on, which I'm just going to say off the gate, I think is pretty good. I think it's pretty good.
I think I would be inclined to hesitantly agree that it's pretty good.
You said before we started that there's an asterisk.
Yes, it's a very big asterisk. It's like, it's not the best. It's not gonna change your view on superhero movies. It's still very Zack Snyder-y. And some people don't like that. Like, I've heard a lot of people say like they like the beginning, like feels like a lot of Zack Snyder stuff, a lot of slow-mo montages and musical moments and stuff like that. There were moments where I was like, I get that this is better, but I still don't like some of this stuff.
Yeah. Can I ask you, what was your reaction in the moment when those women on that Finnish beach or whatever? Are we going full spoilers? I would assume we would be, right?
It's hard to spoil this movie
because it already came out.
Yeah, it did already come out. I mean, Marcus, in your review, you did specify like, all right, I'm going to go into spoiler territory because the very last portion of this film, so we can avoid maybe the last act,
the big change stuff,
that's really different, but I think it's okay to spoil the Iceland
they were Icelandic. Yeah,
I don't know where they were.
Marcus, when those Icelandic women stepped forward on that beach, did you also think that was maybe a touch long?
I was like, I thought it'd be for like a second, and I was like, okay, all right, Zach, and then it kept going. I'm like, Zachary, stop with the singing. It was too long.
James was so disappointed it didn't have that shot of Aquaman, falling into the waves or whatever.
Oh, like throwing his litter into the ocean.
No, there's a point that. So maybe we should also talk about. Let's have fun with this. Maybe we should also talk about the worst and / favorite moments from the Joss Whedon version that got cut from the Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
because
so many.
There's a moment in the original. What do I even call it? The
Whedon
Joss
cut.
Whedon version,
the other
Whedon
one.
cut, Justice League, right?
Yeah,
there's
Justice
a version
League.
in that where Batman's trying to convince Aquaman to join him, and then Aquaman declines, and then there's a shot of him clearly on a green screen, kind of just going like, hup, like just like crossing his arms and like just leaping backwards, and then it cuts to a wide. It cuts to a wide, which is still in the Snyder cut, and you see a small bubble trail zip away like into the distance.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But in this version, it's more like Bruce Wayne looks away for 1 second. When he looks back, Aquaman is gone, implying that he went into the water. Yeah. But I was like, we lost that stupid.
Yeah.
It's like the least exciting way to see someone leave a scene. So
yeah, mine of course is in the Justice League when Superman shows up at the end and Batman is like, he's so happy. He
smiles real big. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one added shot of him being like, my buddy.
Yeah. My best friend is back.
My bestie.
Okay. So it sounds like we all kind of landed on the, like, good with it. I will also say that something Elise and I have been discussing is that it's called a movie, but I don't know that it really is. I think it almost does a disservice to refer to it as a movie. This feels like more. We were saying more like an event, a television event, like this. This Thursday on ABC, it's the Christmas something special with Bob Hope.
Yeah, like a DC Variety Hour kind of thing.
Yeah, not exactly.
Not referencing myself.
Plot-wise, it really doesn't follow a narrative structure. Also, plot-wise, I was like, I should pull up the Wikipedia for this just to have it to reference different things, make sure I'm not forgetting scenes or story beats or whatever. And the Wikipedia summary of the plot is extremely short.
There's not, there's like big events, but the original's like just under 2 hours, like hour 50.
Yeah. So I'll definitely say for the Joss Whedon version, I think he probably did look at it and go, for something that has this much footage, there really isn't that much story happening.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that was a negative for me going into watching this one. Ultimately, when it was all said and done, I was like, oh, we did kind of just hit the same story beats as a 2-hour movie. I'm a little bit more familiar with how we landed here and the characters that are participating in these story beats. But ultimately, I was like, I guess it could have been shorter. It didn't have to be 4 hours. It wasn't like Dune.
Yeah, no.
Like
it could have been like 3.5. Like there's some scenes that are almost virtually identical to the other version, the Joss Whedon version, but with like a few extra seconds of like a shot's held a little longer, or maybe there's another like reaction shot or something like that. Like there's little things where you could definitely trim it down, like the singing Icelandic girls, like it doesn't need to be that long. There's like, I feel like his original idea was probably like, okay, I'm gonna probably get this like 3-ish hours, and then since he gets to release it on HBO, he's like, well, I'll just put everything in it now. There's no reason not to.
Yeah. What did you think about the expansion of Steppenwolf's Mother Box quest? Because I feel like the first third of the movie was that.
Yeah, it feels. It's weird because it feels kind of like Avengers Infinity War, with him like going around trying to grab like little things from around the world, even though it came first. I'm fine with Steppenwolf in this one, but he's not like my favorite villain ever. He's just like acceptable now. He went from being like a joke to an acceptable villain.
Yeah,
with like
he can sit at the
real
table.
Backstory. Yes, yeah, exactly.
I completely, I think that is one of the slight improvements that I noticed, which is that Steppenwolf is kind of a doofus. Like he's kind of like he clearly, leading into this, in the Joss Whedon version, he just shows up and he's like, I'm going to destroy the universe, or I'm going to conquer Earth or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, he's a scary villain.
He's doing villain stuff for the sake of doing villain stuff, really.
Exactly.
In the Joss Whedon one.
He likes being bad.
He shows up, he's trying to get these mother boxes, and then ultimately you find out he's trying to do it to get back into the good graces of Darkseid, who is like the real big baddie. And he, at one point, it's alluded to the fact that at some point he screwed up real bad, and now he's like please. So it isn't even like, you sometimes have the villain who's like gonna double cross the big bad guy. He's not even that.
No,
he it sounds like he accidentally included like broccoli in an order that Darkseid didn't want broccoli order, and was like immediately kicked out, and he's been spending the last 100,000 years trying to get
he's like bumbling middle management. Like Darkseid got him in a pyramid scheme, and he's like, you have to go destroy 100 worlds, and then 100 of your friends have to destroy 100 worlds, and then come talk to me.
He says something like, you owe me 100 planets.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, man.
Put them in the planet box once you've got them.
I need them on my desk by Friday.
He's definitely middle management, and I was there for it.
But I do think, and it's weird because they're talking about this movie as though there's going to be sequels, and I don't think there ever will be. But this was a better setup for an actual big scary villain. It actually made Darkseid and the apocalypse realm and those nightmare futures that Batman keeps having bad dreams about, like it made them seem scary, because there's no way watching the Joss Whedon version that you think this is going to be the end result of something Steppenwolf can do.
Yeah.
But it could theoretically be the end result of someone that Steppenwolf is really afraid of might do, like,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
And definitely seeing him in the various realms womping everyone to get those mother boxes was just so vital in actually giving him some sort of credence or motivation, because the Amazons got done really dirty in Justice League. And, in this one, we just see the lengths that they go to put up that fight. And it's awesome. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought the fight was a lot better. I could have done without as many scenes of them, like the scene of them trying to contact Diana, and then the whole ritual of the arrow, and then Diana then has to go read on the wall about why Darkseid's so bad. Like that whole one thing that I think the Joss cut did better, just in that aspect, was she comes in and she's like, I know about him. My people told me about him. I could infer that. I don't need to be shown why Diana knows ancient history. She's 2,000 years old or whatever. I'm fine with that.
I think also you give Darkseid even more importance when you say, oh no, he's a legendary evil in this culture. Everybody knows. Kind of makes him scarier.
Yeah. I agree as well. I also, the scene that I think this is going back to kind of what we were talking about with the Icelandic singing girls and stuff, the scene of the Amazons bringing out this box, setting up the box, lighting it, has an arrow in it, firing the big arrow, and it's weird Amazonian bureaucracy that it's very gratuitous, and it's really not necessary at all. And I think that we probably could have done without it. Also, Elise accurately pointed out that Connie Nielsen completely ditched her accent for that scene.
There's a lot of accent issues in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of flip-flopping accents. Characters that don't have accents in other movies but have accents in this one.
And it's just show them the footage from the first one, She's they forgot how it went.
No need. I am good. I'm pretty sure it was Cockney. I was doing a Cockney accent. So there's definitely some stuff that could go. But again, I think that Steppenwolf was really good. Something I wasn't crazy about was the when they show when Darkseid came to the planet the first time. I get the importance of that, the last time he tried, we rallied together, setting up what the Justice League should be. But it is really jarring for them to be 1,000 years ago, Darkseid came here, so Zeus fought him. I feel like that raises more questions with me that it satisfies. And I know, listen, I know if you dig deep into comic books, Marvel or DC, you're gonna get into this really weird territory. But the way they just casually talked about, so Zeus fought him, and he showed up, and then by the way, he got dinged once, and then ran away like a baby.
He kind of gave up really fast.
He left literally the most important weapons in his arsenal behind, and just ran away.
I will say, I do feel like that is maybe a character trait of these really OP kind of baddies, where it's they're not used to ever getting any damage. So if you think about that, if you're somebody that just gets constantly knocked around, you're Captain America. I can do this all day because you're used to it. But if you're Darkseid and you never get a paper cut, I can see why one, our artery might take you down.
Yeah, but we as the audience, I think, interpret it as the last time he came here, he just got popped on the shoulder. He ran. He saw blood. He saw his own blood, and they had to drag him away as he's crying.
Did you I love that sequence. Did you like it, Marcus?
I did like it. I've heard people say the same thing. He kind of gave up early, and it makes him not as imposing as a villain. But I took it as, like you said, Elise, he wasn't used to losing, and this is the first planet that actually fought back enough to push him back. And they do imply that he's been pretty pissed off about it, and he wants to go back and get Earth, but he hasn't been able to. So I was fine with it. Yeah.
I think it's very tonally in line with this movie, though. right? Where it's like,
yeah.
I'm okay with it, but I'm still a little confused, you know.
Also,
and then
it goes into like how Zack likes to, you know, portray the superheroes like they're gods. Like Zeus, you know, had to fight Darkseid before, and now Batman has to fight Darkseid because he's on par with like a Greek god. That's how he likes to, you know, frame his characters. So it made sense to me.
James has a really fascinating, well, in my opinion, fascinating way of looking at DC versus Marvel in this regard.
It's only because I start, like, Elise is trying to do something important, and I knock on the door and I go, I came up with this fascinating theory. But no, I mean, I completely agree. Like, and I think that's something that I appreciate. I've always appreciated about this say what you will about the quality of them. The whole different take Zack Snyder has on superheroes, for me, may not be good, but it's at the very least refreshing, because Marvel movies, for their quality, are the same, almost always the same take on heroes, right? It's a humanizing of them. And it's like, you know, he's Spider-Man, but he is just like us, you know, he's just like us, you know, and it's like, it's Iron Man. He's a billionaire genius who can invent time machines. But you know what? He also doesn't like the taste of acai smoothies, you know, like that's like what their vibe is. And I think that works really well, because I think it means that anyone can watch it and anyone can relate. But Zack Snyder doesn't necessarily want anyone to relate to any of these characters. Yeah. Like, even in Man of Steel, like he's not like Superman is an everyman. He's like, no, he's an alien. Like, I'm gonna. Well,
except when he lets that bomb explode in the court. And he,
yeah. I will say this. I have stated before that my favorite scene in any superhero movie is when, after the bomb goes off in Congress, when Superman is there and everyone is burnt to smithereens around him, and he's standing there and he looks over and he's like, like he's just like, missed it. I'm like, it's most, so real.
Like, the most ridiculous expression. It's like he left the oven on at home. It's like he doesn't even care.
I think to Zack Snyder, that's kind of what it is. Yeah. Like to these heroes, and I appreciate that different take very much. Like, Zack Snyder goes, these are gods playing around in our world. You are not. You're Superman an observer. Isn't you. And you are not Superman. Like, Wonder Woman can go to that little girl and be like, you can be anything you want to be. But she's very condescending. Like, she's just saying that because she's better than you, little girl. Like, that's how I feel like Zack Snyder feels. And to me, it's kind of the difference between Old Testament and New Testament. Like, with the Bible, you had all these stories, and they're like, you're going to learn from someone who isn't you. You're going to learn the story about something that God did.
Well, the gods are wrathful also.
Wrathful. He does whatever the fuck he wants because he's trying to teach you a lesson.
Destroy the whole city.
Yeah. But then at a certain point, society changed and someone was like, we got to find a new way to relate to people. And so what if we're like, oh, like God is a man as well? Like, so then New Testament. So I do kind of like that we have both of these at the same time, but I also completely understand why someone might watch a Zack Snyder superhero movie, or even this Snyder cut, which I think is pretty good, and go like, I don't like this, because it's a different moral perspective on everything.
Yeah. And I think that one thing that I immediately recognized about the movie once I started realizing that I liked it, because it took a little bit before I was like, okay, no, I'm enjoying this. It was that once they get together and they're like doing their, you know, superhero thing, like all together as a group, it doesn't feel like an Avengers movie. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. Like, they're not, there's like obviously the jokes that were cut out, like there's no quipping back and forth, but they're more acting like co-workers than friends.
Yes.
Like they're acting like they're just going to do this one thing together and never see each other again. And it doesn't, like, the whole movie doesn't feel like just a Marvel movie. Like, all the superhero movies that have been coming out now feel just like more Marvel movies. Like, even when they're not by Marvel, like Shazam is just like a Marvel movie. Like, you know, it's got like the cute stuff, like you said, the relating to people. And this one doesn't feel like that. It just feels like he's actually doing his own thing, and this time it like actually worked. Like, them not being like people, like not being like, you know, everyday people actually works for this one. So I liked that a lot for this one. Like, for the first time I was like, okay, I get what you're going for, and I like it now.
Yeah, they're not cute frenemies, and Flash isn't in this version making weird comments to Wonder Woman for the whole thing, which I appreciated. I was like, yeah, that now that I look back at Justice League, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was kind of like weird and unnecessary.
Yeah, he had a joke in that one. Like,
yeah,
a really bad joke.
Yes, and I mean, I think obviously everybody talked about it, but like the glaring change difference is Victor Stone Cyborg actually having an origin story, something that's meaningful and being kind of makes you, if they did like a Flash movie that had him in it, you know, makes you excited for it.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about Cyborg in this was in Justice League, it felt like Cyborg shows up and then he almost is like, you know, he's like the young kid who's out of his element in all this. He's like, the only reason he's there is because they see potential in his powers.
Yeah.
But in this version, he actually has like a wisdom to him. Like there could
he's
totally
like a different guy.
He's a completely different person. I feel like I was watching it and I was like, oh, maybe he should be the leader of the Justice League. Like he has kind of an awareness. He has the powers. They elaborate on his powers, which maybe, again, back to the gods thing, a little too much. Maybe they give him too much of a lightning bolt. And a really great academically gifted and like very good quarterback maybe shouldn't have the codes to every single nuke on the planet. He seems like a nice guy, but maybe that's beyond what he needs to do.
Yeah.
But it's at least now I know what his capabilities are. Like, at least I know what role he serves within the team and why Batman would like waste any time on this, you know?
Yeah, they don't explain his powers even one time in the original, and it is a little weird that Batman's like, all right, I need this guy who can, you know, move really fast and possibly reverse time, and this guy who's a robot.
Yeah.
He didn't even know that he could like interface with the mother boxes. He just that was lucky that he could do that.
Yeah. I did have a better grasp of what his abilities were in this one, though I did kind of like laugh to myself when he was talking with the machines, and he was like, oh, you know, old Bessie, she's coming around. And I'm like, I was like,
she wants to fly.
Maybe there's a more eloquent way of like doing this. James made me laugh because he was like doing this whole shtick about how when his dad was saving him, like all the other stuff he souped him up like a Pimp My Ride.
Oh yeah. Well, that's. I mean, this is a perfect encapsulation of probably how I feel about this movie, which is that you just take the cyborg thing and you go, it's better. It's a multi-dimensional thing. I understand it better than I did before. It has character. I'm actually more interested in it than I ever was in the previous version. That being said, what happened from the time he was in the hospital bed to him being on a circuit board with his whole everything below his rib cage is gone. Yeah. Everything's like, even when you saw him in the hospital bed, his face was fine. Why did his dad replace half of his face with robotics?
There's more robot of him than like he had other bits of meat left, and it's just gone.
He was like, nope, no, this is way inefficient. And then I will say this, the one gratuitous thing that if they ever cut this movie down again, which they probably never will, but if they ever did, they have to leave in, is the visualization of how Cyborg can manipulate the stock markets, which was a giant metal bear fighting a giant metal bull.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, they're like, and I'm like, okay, I get you. It's very Wall Street, very inside Wall Street, but I see you there. I see it. But that's the whole movie. That's what it is. It's like, we have fleshed things out.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense and it's better.
His relationship with his relationship with his dad, the absentee father, and then the car accident. My only grief with the car accident was it did feel a little redundant after the truck crash with Iris West. Like it was like here's an accident, here's a vehicular accident, here's another vehicular accident, and I was kind of like,
they just can't drive in that universe.
Yeah, in storytelling, I'm like, this just feels a little bit too much back to back.
Yeah.
Well, I remember turning to you and saying, "Uh-oh, someone else dropped their sandwich." And I would have loved the shot of it's the same driver who like crashed into that woman. It's like constantly smashing into people because he drops his sandwich.
Prioritizes his sandwich over the lives of others.
But I did feel like it actually gave. I mean, this is not a unique opinion. I think it's just fact that it was in a world of an improvement for Cyborg.
Yeah.
Well, get one last thing, and then I wanna talk a little bit about Batman. But
oh yeah,
do you guys remember how they closed Cyborg's story arc, which was more of a line in the Joss Whedon version? Because I always thought that was one of my favorite moments. As in, it's terrible, but like it shows him back in his apartment, and he realizes he can make himself look less ugly. Like,
I don't remember what.
I don't remember. I remember very little about this movie.
He's like in his apartment, and because his design is real shitty, and then he like goes like and then like he changes his body structure to be like more smooth. Or am I crazy, or did I dream this?
Maybe.
Because that's what happens to Cyborg at the end of the first movie. Is like it shows Bruce Wayne and like they're doing all their things. They kind of like go back to their situation a little bit, but then it shows Cyborg. And he changes his body, and he's like, but it's the slightest. It goes from being a CG mess to being like a slightly smoother CG mess. Am I crazy?
I feel like I don't remember it, but I feel like your description is convincing me that I remember.
Right?
This.
Yeah.
I think you're implanting a false memory.
You guys talk about Batman. I'm gonna dig into Cyborg.
Yeah. So Batman is definitely here, and the thing that we talked about a lot was the relationship between Batman and Alfred, because it's like diametrically opposite to every relationship Batman and Alfred ever have, which is as Batman sort of having, and I think so much of this ties into just the origin of Batman and his parents, etc., is Batman sort of having these doubts. And then, the best is the Michael Caine version where he's saying like, Master Wayne, we pick ourselves up. What do we do when we fall, Master Wayne? Whereas this is like constantly Alfred saying, Jeremy Irons saying, I just don't know, Batman. I don't know if you're going to pull this one off. And then Batman being like, fuck you, Alfred.
He's like, why
you
are
don't
you
know
bothering
shit.
Bruce? Why you should just give up, Bruce. Just let the world burn, Bruce.
And Alfred in this movie is just such a exposition transition constantly, but it's just such a weird relationship.
I actually kind of like how it's slightly different. Where like, for me, it felt like these are two guys who just live together, and it just so happens one of them is Batman.
Yeah, yeah.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it felt like they merged Alfred and Lucius Fox into one character for the sake of this. Yes. But yeah, you go ahead.
I did like Alfred and Diana a lot. Mm-hmm. How they're kind of like Batman's off doing stuff and they're just hanging out in the apartment. Mm-hmm. Like he's like teaching her how to make tea and he's being like kind of rude about it, but she's like too polite to tell him. And then when they come back later, like he's like, everybody, this is Alfred. And she's like, oh yeah, hi Alfred, I know you. He's like, oh hi Diana.
Yeah. It definitely, they felt like they were more of a team. Which is weird because the whole Justice League, some people didn't even talk to each other the whole time. They felt like, and then they also felt like they had an actual purpose with each other. I want to kind of get into that purpose so we can unlock spoilers and talk about actually like kind of the major changes that happened at the end. I also want to get all of our takes on the aspect ratio. But before then, I want to hear a quick word from our sponsors. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? Listen, in case you don't speak Spanish, that means hello, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? No, it's basically like it's a conversational thing, and I learned it recently on Babbel. I've actually been trying to learn Spanish for a really long time, so I appreciate having the #1 selling language learning app in my pocket while I do it. It's been a goal of mine for a while. I've used a lot of different services to practice, but it wasn't until recently that I've started picking up Babbel and really getting a handle on the grammar and building up my glossary of words and terms. It's way more conversational learning. I think what makes it so easy is that Babbel has 15-minute lessons. It's the perfect way for me to learn a new language on the go. When I take my dog for a walk, boom, I pull up the app, I do some practicing, and I run some drills. Unlike other infamous language classes you might have taken in high school, Babbel designs their courses with practical, real-world conversations in mind, hence what I'm able to do now, things you're going to get to use in everyday life. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel's lessons were created by over 100 language experts. They know what they're talking about. Their teaching method has been scientifically proven to be effective. With Babbel, you can choose from 14 different languages, including Spanish, French, Italian, and German. I'm just focusing on Spanish for now, but I would love to learn more languages going forward. Plus, Babbel's speech recognition technology helps you improve your pronunciation and accent, so that way you don't sound like a crazy person when you actually want to use what you've learned. Start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, when you purchase 3 months of Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. That's 6 months, half a year, for the price of just 3. Go to babbel.com and use promo code Filmhaus. That's BABBEL.com, code Filmhaus, for an extra 3 months free. Babbel, language for life. This episode of Filmhaus is brought to you by HelloFresh. By the time you've finished your 4th Zoom call of the day, the last thing you want to do is figure out dinner. That's where HelloFresh comes in. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store and makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Something that's really important to me, not just the delicious foods that I get to make, because I actually really like cooking and I like trying new things, but HelloFresh is a sustainable way to eat that helps you and me reduce food waste. They deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, so you don't have to worry about the perfect exact amount of lettuce to buy at the store or how fast you have to eat it before it wilts. Less food waste means less burden on the planet and your wallet. HelloFresh is also carbon neutral. That's pretty important to me. It offsetting 100% of carbon emissions. That makes their carbon footprint 25% lower than store-bought grocery-made meals. So you can save money, you can make sure you're getting the right amount of food, and you can help the planet with HelloFresh by skipping the grocery store. Also, the packaging, everything comes in completely recyclable packaging. It has all the instructions on how to do it. It's something I appreciate as well. There's a lot of really earth-conscious things, and we haven't even talked about how delicious these meals are. HelloFresh gives you flexibility, which if you want to customize your meals, maybe this week you think you're going to be a little bit busier, so you might not have time to cook. Though, that being said, most of these meals only take about half an hour anyway. But you don't have that half an hour. You can put some of those meals on hold, only get a couple. Or if you think this is the week, you want to try a bunch of stuff, you can add more. If you want extra protein, different sides, different sizes, serving sizes than normal, like maybe you're going to have friends over and you want to cook for them, you can totally do all of this with HelloFresh. Normally, I cook dinner. I like to cook for Elise and for myself. And, she's got her preferences, but no matter when we get a HelloFresh, she can always find something that she enjoys that I cook. I would say my batting average is way better when we have a HelloFresh in the house than it is when I'm just trying to come off the top of my head. Plus, the best thing is when you try something new, you can take those recipes and then you can repurpose them later. I always save all my HelloFresh cards so that way I can make them again and again, or I just order them the next time I see them come up. So they have all kinds of delicious meals. I had some, what did I have? I had some fish the other day, pork the day before that. I'm a huge fan of chicken. But I also am trying to eat more vegetarian. They have vegetarian options that have been delicious. So it's just a great deal. And I totally recommend going to HelloFresh.com/Filmhouse12 to use code Filmhouse12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/Filmhouse12. Use code Filmhouse12. Let HelloFresh take care of the details and you just get delicious, fresh food. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Okay, we're back. Spoilers are on. It's open season. Not that we were really keeping things under wraps for most of it, but we can completely talk about any details we want to of the ending or anything. And I also want to say I found the clip Cyborg creating a new body on YouTube. It's like 3 seconds, and it's literally him in a lab going like, oh, I'm getting a new body. And that was supposed to be the closure of his arc in the Joss Whedon version.
Is he with his dad?
He's with his dad.
Okay, I remember. I think I was more focused on the fact that he's with his dad than the fact that he's doing anything himself.
But it's just great because if you watch this clip, he goes, oh, like this is much better. But it like it's literally just like someone. I don't know if anyone's ever worked with ZBrush or anything before, but when you basically just add more polygons to it, like I forget what the term is,
greebling or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's like that's all it looks like, and he's like, this is much better.
It's like Joss Whedon was like, remember when Shrek became human? I can do that.
We have the clip. So this is it's like kind of towards the end, and then he's like, oh my god, yes. This is it, and I can't see the fucking difference at all.
Wow. You're right.
Anyway, I always thought that was funny. Sorry,
I was convinced you were making that up.
His dad did his dad die in the Snyder cut?
Yeah,
I can't even.
It's like vaporized.
Yeah. That's right.
Horribly.
Yeah. Already forgot.
He became Dr. Manhattan. Yeah. Which at the time watching it, I was like, that was really stupid.
Because you don't know why he does it.
You don't know why he does it, and but they do explain it like 5 minutes after it happens. Yeah. And so you're like, oh, okay. But at the time you're like, that really seemed like a stupid plan.
Why did he do that? I still feel like it was for a good enough reason for him to be like, the boxes get hot. Look for where hot stuff is. Like I really feel like you could have done that without vaporizing yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, I completely agree. But it did lead them to their final fight, which still takes place in a Russian city. We don't have the benefit of cutting back and forth to a small Russian family dealing with the repercussions of parademons flying all over the place.
Yes.
It's essentially like a Chernobyl. It's an abandoned place where nobody lives. So that way it can be completely eviscerated, which seems more in line with Zack Snyder coming off Man of Steel. Or like he would be like, fine, it's abandoned. And then they could do whatever they wanted. But yeah, how did you guys feel about the end sequence for this movie?
I liked it a lot more. When you compare it to the old one feels really lackluster. I remember watching it in theaters back when it came out. And I was like, that was not a very fun ending. It was kind of just like a fight. And then like he goes home. Like it's not even clear if Steppenwolf is dead or alive. It's just doesn't he
just get afraid?
He gets spooked, and the parademons in this version of the movie, they're attracted to fear, which is why Batman at the beginning is like chasing that guy around. He's like the parademon gets attracted to the fear, and then that's how the movie starts. In this one, they're attracted to fear, and he gets afraid of the Justice League, so they attack him, and then he goes home. It's not when you compare it to like how crazy and like bombastic this ending is, it looks like a joke. Like just the last, like, I think it's like, what is like a whole chapter is just like the whole final battle. It's a lot different, and it's more interesting in like tiny ways too. Like you said, the city's destroyed, so like there's an added shot of Cyborg like flying through like decimating buildings because he doesn't have to care about anybody being there. Batman like gets a little added context of why he's trying to sacrifice himself and stuff like that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
On the subject of fear, I have to mention, because it may be cheesy to some people, but I think it is one of my like new favorite superhero movie lines when the Queen says to the Amazons, like, show him your fear, and then they all say we have none or whatever.
That was pretty cool.
It's pretty dope. That. It's like it's very much like a something that would have said in a we will fight in the shade kind of line that I was like, oh yeah, this is getting me pumped up for what's about to happen here.
I got a lot of 300 vibes from the Amazon.
Yes. Yeah, even though they're going to get decimated, you're like, okay, like let's do it. Though contrast that to one of my least favorite lines ever, which is Steppenwolf saying, "The Amazon is mine," and then Wonder Woman saying, "I belong to no one." I was like, that's not feminism. I know you think it's female empowerment, but it's not. It's just semantics. Sorry, I had to get all that off my chest. But
no, totally fine.
I agree with Marcus. Like, I enjoyed night and day, enjoyed this ending more. You know, when Superman shows up and he's just wrecking Steppenwolf, it's awesome.
It's
awesome.
Shit out of
beating him to the ground.
He hits him twice in the face and then beams him and then like hits him again and he basically
knocks
just
his, ear off or whatever that is.
Yeah. Creates a cycle of beaming, punching, and beaming. And I was like, holy shit.
Leave him alone.
Like that's the thing is, like, if you were a comic book fan and there's just visualization and payoff of things that you probably as a kid read in comics, saw in comics, and you're regardless of whatever shortcomings the movie has and problems, like, you're seeing some of those things created in live action. I think that has so much merit to it, you know?
Yeah, including. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna mention, like, everybody kind of gets to do more of their thing aside from like Batman, who he just shoots people with like laser guns. He can't. He can't figure out what to do with Batman in these movies.
No.
Like in Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, Batman's just watching them fight the big alien thing.
Yeah.
In this, he saves Flash at the end from like getting domed by that alien guy, but that's about it. He can't do anything.
Yeah, he's just kind of the
it's
fixer.
Still after he's already gotten shot.
He's like, I'm just here, like, I'm a production coordinator getting all these, actors on set to do their thing, and that's kind of what he feels like.
He's very much, I mean, he admits to it, right? He's like, what's your superpower? He's like, I'm rich.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. And I do think that when you're dealing with gods, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, because if he had made Batman, like, if there had been a scene where Batman without armor or whatever punches Superman, and Superman and they pushes him back. If they had like Captain America moving the hammer thing for Batman, people would literally write their congressman and say that they're pissed off about it. So I get that. He does give him a lot of toys, but the problem is, I think Zack Snyder just loves destruction so much that he eviscerates the toy before Batman really gets to do so. Like, it kind of blows his load, as it were, where it starts out Batmobile, very explicit purpose. It's the only thing that can really get in there. So he's in there and he's doing all kinds of cool shit, and he's driving it really cool, and he's actually taking out more bad guys than Aquaman does. But then he gets too excited with that scene, and as opposed to maybe something where he could have been out there clearing the path for Flash or something like that.
Something else.
The Batmobile is gone within 30 seconds, like completely eviscerated. So all Batman can really do is like swing around and like kick people from behind. So it is tough by comparison. But he still, I think, had more of a purpose than just hanging on the wall smiling when Superman shows up.
Yeah, he does. He actually does things. It's everybody kind of gets to do more. Like, I'd like that they were fighting together. Like, I mentioned in my review how I noticed that in the original, there's like a shot of Wonder Woman like falling down in front of Steppenwolf, and she's by herself. And in this one, she lands and she's got the boys behind her, and they fight him together. And it's completely different. It's way more engaging to watch them all three of them try to take one guy down. It makes Steppenwolf seem like a little more threatening, that like all three of them have to try to fight him together too.
For sure.
For sure.
I couldn't agree more. And remind me, does Aquaman ride down the parademons in the first movie?
Yeah, he does both. He does it in both.
Yeah.
Okay. I just love that he became like Patrick Swayze in Point Break, and it's like these are the things that he does. Yeah. Because he's just such a surfer bro. So that I'm glad that didn't change.
It's also really excessive when you consider that, like, it's to take out one parademon, which are the most minions of the whole thing. Like, by that point, Cyborg has like destroyed like probably 150, and he spent that whole time riding one down, destroying a building, and then hopping out.
Yeah,
he's just here to have a good time.
To the point, to your point, Marcus, of them fighting together, I do really like that there's this sort of tacit respect, or maybe this is just something I inferred or got out of it, but between some more of the godlike heroes like the Wonder Woman, the Aquaman, Superman. You get more of just kind of this like this understanding between all of them, you know, which I dig.
They have that scene too where Aquaman and Wonder Woman just like talk to each other like in the car, and they're just like, hey, we're like from two you know, ancient societies, what's up? And they just they just chat like, and it's not like a quippy like, it's just two people chat. It's just two people having a conversation, getting to know each other, and it felt very normal and natural. And there's a lot of moments like that where, specifically with Aquaman, I feel like he gets to kind of just like be the guy who like talks to people like they're people. Like where he, in the original, he's kind of a jerk where he's like, oh, Victor's a monster. He's working with the enemy. He's like kind of like being a dick for no reason. And in this one, he has like a really nice scene where he's like, Victor, I feel really bad for him. Like he lost his father. He has to hang out with us and fight monsters. Like it's just not fair. And it's a completely different character entirely.
It honestly and weirdly, because the DC cinematic universe is so screwed up. It's like such a weird inbred family that like none of it tonally matches really or anything. And I remember watching Aquaman after Justice League and being like, I think it was like halfway into the movie. I was like, is this before or after Justice League? I can't tell.
This is so different.
They did a better job making it. It's the two movies are very different, but they did a better job making one slide into the other in terms of like characters. And like, and even Diana, I mean, Wonder Woman 84 kind of screwed everything up, but like even Diana, like how she kind of landed in this place still seems like she's a consistent character. Aquaman in the Joss Whedon version just didn't make any sense. It was like he was a fully realized prince or king of the oceans leader, and then we got a movie immediately after that was like, what's he gonna do? Like,
will he be Ocean Master?
What's going on? Like, so
he will never be Ocean Master.
Ocean Master, right? At least really loves. I mean, I also
you
really
will
love Aquaman
never
too,
be Ocean Master.
But yeah, when the crab shouts at him to never be Ocean Master.
What did you think about Aquaman, Marcus?
I like, okay, so the Aquaman, when I saw Aquaman the first time, I despised it. I was like, this stupid, dumb movie. Stupid DC movies are all bad and I hate them. And then I was going to make a video on it. And in my video, like, as I was like, you know, I watch a movie and I'm like, maybe I'll take a little notes and I'm like, oh, stupid line. It's a stupid scene. And like, I was like, oh, that was kind of cool, actually. Okay, I'll say that was cool. And I'm like, oh, that's stupid too. I'm like, oh, I like that a lot. And then I was like, oh my God, I like this movie. Oh no. And I just completely came around. Like I watch that every once in a while now. I'll put it on. I'll be like, yeah, Aquaman's cool.
It is.
This is a good movie.
Yeah,
it's so cool. I will admit I had high hopes leading into it because I knew James Wan was attached, and I thought, you know, James Wan is not going to lead us wrong. I believe it. I believe it in my heart. And everyone thought it was going to be goofy. And sure enough, 30 minutes into that movie, I was really nervous because I had put a lot of my reputation on the line. This is going to be a good movie. And then, but then sure enough, you know, you get to the end of it and you think, man, that was actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
And
it's very exciting. It's just like, it feels good. Like I've said before, I like a good hero's journey. Like it's a normal like trope. It's in like every story, but when it's done really well, it is very satisfying to watch it unfold. And that's just a good, like a feel good hero's journey action movie.
Yes. Yeah. It's something that's also really satisfying, and you touched on it earlier, is just seeing the mundane interactions between these characters, because they've all been built up. And I think part of the fun in comics is when you see like these two characters from different worlds. Marvel does it really, really well, where it's like they're just having a mundane conversation. And it's the Wonder Woman Aquaman thing of like, oh, you're from this world, you're from that world. You know, it's like when I was a kid and my great grandfather and my great great uncle would talk about World War II. And it's like, yo, you're Polish, you're Italian, whoa, you know. And I just think like there's just like those quiet moments where it just breathes and is like, let's just see a little, pull back the curtain. They're not doing hero shit together. They're just being their over the top like gods from these different backgrounds together. I love that. I mean, it's a bloated 4-hour runtime, but we got some of those little moments.
Well, I would say one thing to add on to that, and again, when you consider that they are gods, right? And they're gods having normal conversations like people would that aren't necessarily reminding you that they are normal, right? Like, it's not like they're talking about their favorite Starbucks drink or whatever. Yeah. It's not a forced interaction. Because I actually really like that Superman comes back and then he takes Lois and goes to the farm and she's like, we lost the farm. He's like, what do you mean we lost the farm? And then later on, Batman goes, don't worry, I bought the farm back for you. I bought the bank. And Superman's like, thanks. But you can tell he's thinking, I can destroy this world with the snap of my fingers. Like, I appreciate it. Thank you for buying back the bank. But I could literally lift Scrooge's entire vault out of the ground if I wanted to and get 1,000 farms.
So there's that whole, like, I don't know if you guys saw all the, like, Twitter abuzz because, you know, Falcon Winter Soldier, Falcon goes to try to get that loan or whatever and is getting denied. And the person's like, how do you Avengers get paid? Like, you know, does the government and so everyone on Twitter was like, Tony Stark wasn't paying the Avengers. You know, he was so rich.
You have to unionize the Avengers.
He wasn't paying the Avengers. And so I guess like Batman kind of, but then there was the counter argument, which was, is Tony Stark supposed to pay the Avengers? Why wouldn't S.H.I.E.L.D. pay the Avengers? Why wouldn't
our tax dollars go to paying the Avengers?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that universe, isn't that how, like, they're all technically supposed to work under the government. Are they working under the government for free?
I mean, I guess I always thought of it, we're getting way off track and that's okay. But I always thought of it as kind of like military, right? Like they were basically like in the Army Reserve. So, you know, there were benefits that came to it, room and board, meals, you know, a place to train, a place to, the summer house in upstate New York or whatever, summer facility in upstate, access to limitless technology and transportation. But I never assumed that a huge salary was involved because most of their needs were taken care of, you know?
I mean, they're fighting Thanos.
But soldiers aren't paid that well, and they're putting their lives on the line as well. So, you know, I just thought it was, a lot. There's definitely a lot to unpack. Hey, remember when Flash ran so fast that he moved time backwards?
Boy, was that great. It was a good movie. I don't have to think about loans or money.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. But I do think I will just to kind of wrap things up because I feel like we could talk. It's a 4-hour movie, and I was like, I don't know how we're going to talk about it.
I have more to say.
There's a lot, but
Billy Crudup was Billy Crudup in the original one as his dad?
Yes, I think he was. It's that scene's almost exactly the same, except Flash has like an added like exposition in the Snyder cut where he's like, well, you're my dad who killed my mother and I don't believe that you actually did it. But Batman has that has exposition for him in the Joss cut so that they kind of cut that. Either way the exposition happens, but yeah, it's almost exactly the same.
Billy Crudup, great Billy. But I want to say that I really liked Flash running so fast because I think it's such a stupid, cheesy concept. Like, it's the kind of thing that always happens in comic books where it's like, how do we make someone who runs fast relevant when like we've already seen Wonder Woman move just as fast as he does, and we all know already shows Superman trips him, like basically pranks him, and he's like, you're fast, and he moves so fast he trips him. So like we already saw like these things happen, so that they always have to figure out this power creep and what can he do that no one else can. And it should be dumb, but the visualization of that moment is what so I thought to be, that was like the one slow-mo with a song playing thing that I was like, this belongs here. This is perfect for this. Like, and it really builds to a climax, which is such a slow climax, which is what I really liked about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's just satisfying. It's like, I feel like a lot of superhero movies that people really like have like that big moment that people are like, that was awesome. Like that was the big, you know, scene of the movie. And this is definitely that for this movie. Like it's big enough that like after that, you can have your falling action then end, and I would have been fine with it. The fact that it keeps going is another story. I know a lot of people are divisive on how long the falling action of this movie is.
Yeah.
It feels like it ends at a certain point, and then it just keeps going.
Lord of the Rings levels of here's an end, you get an end, you get an end.
I think because it isn't winding down after that moment and they've resolved everything, and they kill Steppenwolf in a really, what I thought was a really cool way.
That was cold. That was so cool.
I was like, okay, as long as it's going down. But the problem is I think it goes down and then plateaus in a completely different direction, almost like it's building again.
Different movie.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then it is.
And there's no connective tissue between any of these scenes that are just slapped next to each other at the very end.
We're talking specifically about, I think, the Knightmare, mostly.
We'll talk about Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that was supposed, because that was the end tag. Wasn't that the end tag of the Joss Whedon version?
It was the post-credits.
It was post-credit,
Yeah. Now it's just thrown in.
It was setting up for Joe Manganiello. It was setting him up. He plays Deathstroke. It was setting him up to be Deathstroke, to be the villain in the next Batman, Ben Affleck Batman, which got canned.
Yeah. That's why that one line gets changed, where he's like, "Oh, his name's Bruce Wayne," because that was going to tie into that movie. But since they cut like right when Justice League was coming out, they're like, "Oh, it's not going to be a Ben Affleck Batman movie." Like, all right, let's just cut that line.
Yeah. But then, so you're like, okay, you're clearly setting up for more, and then we get the new edition, which is an additional Knightmare sequence.
The DLC.
Exactly. That's what it felt like, honestly. It felt like DLC. That's perfect. Of Batman and then also the only moments ago introduced Deathstroke, which I think is perfect.
His Mohawk.
I'm gonna kill Batman. Just kidding. We're besties now.
Yeah.
Plus Mara from Aquaman's world in a land devoid of water, which I thought was great.
With a British accent.
Aquaman's dead.
Aquaman is assumed dead. And then we have Flash, right? It's just them. And then of course Jared Leto's Joker returns, sans damaged tattoo.
No tattoos.
So that way the two of them can have a scene that I watched your review. I know you enjoyed, right?
I did. Again, with an asterisk. It's like, because like the scene just starts. It doesn't like it. I watched it with someone who hasn't seen the original and isn't like super familiar with Batman v Superman. They just kind of like slept through it. And when that scene starts, it's kind of like, what's going on now? Like it feels like it comes out of nowhere. It's not like woven into the movie neatly. It feels like it's just thrown onto the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, up until they start like having that conversation with Batman and Joker, I was like, this is kind of corny. This is goofy.
It definitely would have made more sense positioned as a post credits scene.
Yeah.
Or extras on a DVD release that would never happen. Like
or even like they have other scenes where they're like kind of like alluding to that like alternate timeline. I would have been fine with it being like somewhere else in the movie, like because they have like a few dream sequences, maybe like trim it down and then throw it in with another one of the dream sequences
if it happened and then Batman woke up and he was like all disoriented and then he looked over to the glass case in his bedroom where Robin's uniform is, because
he keeps it in his bedroom,
keeps it in the glass case next to him while he sleeps. I would have been happy with that.
He does like have like a few scenes where he's like, I've been having dreams about alternate timeline, and like it would have made more sense if he like wakes up and then he has a conversation with Wonder Woman or something like that. Because and then I forgot about the Martian Manhunter scene. Like there's like 3 scenes that can be an ending scene or a post-credit scene.
It's Return of the King to that same quality as well.
And Martian Manhunter was a substitute for, because who did he originally want to put
Green
in that?
Lantern.
Green Lantern. That's right.
Figure out a Green Lantern thing. Which is weirdly the Martian Manhunter stuff. It doesn't make sense that he was like, I was here the whole time. I was like, and you didn't help. But it does kind of tie back based on the casting that he's been there the whole time, right? Yeah. Which is the only like interesting through line I would say of that Zack Snyder trilogy.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Strangely enough, it makes more sense than if Green Lantern shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
But
it was weird. Sorry, Avid. I cannot stop thinking about him being Martha in that scene.
Oh yeah,
It's so strange. Like, it's this lovely, like, beautiful conversation between these two characters that I generally didn't like in the other movies, and then one of them is an alien.
Yeah, I know.
I guess I didn't understand the purpose of that being Martian Manhunter.
It was just to tell us, like, look who's here.
Oh, okay. So because I felt like I was like, why would he want to go to talk to Lois? And what is he trying to motivate her to do?
No idea.
That I couldn't understand.
I mean, I guess you could imply that, like, he had to try to convince her to go to, like, the Superman monument that day and convince Superman not to have zombie madness.
But
how would he know?
How would he know? And already they established earlier in the movie that she was like, I come here every day. And that cop's like, back again, Lois, every single day. It's just so, like, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird, convenient conflict that she would decide that was the day she was going to stop going.
Yeah.
When we already told us, the audience, that, like, she goes every single day. So
yeah, we shouldn't have to convince ourselves why he's here. Like, we shouldn't have to try to come up with fake reasons why Martian Manhunter transforms into Martha Kent.
Related, Lois is just kind of a sad Snoopy in this whole movie. Like, doesn't really do much.
That's how she is in all these movies.
Yeah.
And they keep saying, like, she's important. She's the key to the future. Like, show me then. Make her interesting.
Well, there is that one scene where Superman's holding her skeleton, and then Darkseid comes up and helps him from behind. I did appreciate. I was like, that's a compelling Lois Lane. But
Bacon Lois.
But yeah, so I mean, it was so indulgent. The Knightmare scene for me did not hit. I just don't like.
You had a smile on your
Jared
face
Leto.
the whole time.
I mean, I don't like Jared Leto as Joker. I mean, I had a smile on my face the whole last half of Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom as well, where dinosaurs were running amok in the Clue Mansion. That didn't mean I thought it was good, but, like, I just don't buy into it. It feels like he is doing an impersonation of, and I because again, I watched your review and I completely agree with your take of, like, the played out, we're reflections of each other is like, that scene is so played out. I think we've already seen the best version of that, so there's no sense to do it again. I appreciate that this was different. It was just like, nah, you're a pussy, you're not gonna do it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just something about Jared Leto. He's a great actor, but he brings out, like, the worst in the Joker. Like, I don't know why. He's really...
Is it the material?
It's probably, I mean, it's partially the material, but...
I feel like, wasn't he, like doing some method acting stuff? I feel like he kind of was maybe making up some of his own stuff if he was let to do that. My thing is with Jokers is, like, I don't care what anybody does with the Joker. Like, do like a shitty version of the Joker, fine. As long as it's a different Joker, I'm okay with that. Like, it's the kind of character that, like, if someone's like, oh, that performance as the Joker was terrible, I'm like, how can you tell? It's he's talking weird. He's, doing shit that a regular person wouldn't do. So I'm less picky with my Joker presentation. Like, Joker can be, like, have a bad performance or be, portrayed by an actor that I think isn't doing a great job, and I'm kind of okay with it. I'll give it a pass.
Yeah, it always goes back to the fact that, like, if you make Batman really impressive, then it does feel like you're somewat obligated to make Joker impressive too, because he's like, generally, like, unless you decide not to in that universe, which is totally fine, generally he's always held up to the standard of Batman. He's the only one who can generally get the better of Batman in most cases and really get under his skin. And it's like, well, why is that? And I don't think by like saying, like, who's going to give you a reach around was like, that's the Batman thing. Like, Batman has done this for 30 years, faced off against countless things. And I don't think that if someone said, who's going to give you a reach around?
It definitely, it doesn't feel like this Joker is on the same level as Batman. It feels like he's a nuisance.
He's not getting under Batman's skin in the way that the movie wants us to think that he is.
Which, again, in the context of this movie, was a nightmare. So maybe it was a nightmare of our Batman from this universe going, like, I can't believe what a scary thought that would be what got under my skin.
That would be my arch nemesis, my equal.
That would be
If we're talking about like miscastings or just characters that just don't fly, I hate to say it because I love him so much, but J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, it's so whatever, and it's so why, and
he doesn't really like stand out too much. It's like J.K. Simmons' like least impressive role that I've seen in a while.
It's so unfortunate.
I forget he's in it. When you like mentioned him just now, I'm like, oh yeah, he's in the movie.
When he showed up as Commissioner Gordon, I said, oh yeah, I guess that was the thing, that he was Gordon in this universe, and they don't do anything interesting with him. He may as well not have been in this movie too.
It's just a reminder that Gotham exists. I think, again, Man of Steel, I think we wasted Christopher Maloney too soon, because people forget he's in that movie.
Who is he?
But he's just playing like a army officer. Like he's the one who crashes the spaceship or whatever and like helps save the day. He has like this
grudge against like one of the other alien Kryptonians.
But I think if you wanted to save a role for him, he could be a different Commissioner Gordon. Also, when you take someone like J.K. Simmons, who has done the circuit on superhero movies, like, don't give him a somewhat similar but different role. Like it just feels like when you do that, it's like, oh, so Zack Snyder watched Spider-Man and was like, that guy would be good in my superhero movie, which is like a terrible way to cast.
I'm seeing on IMDb that David Thewlis showed up as Ares. Is that in the big fight against Darkseid?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, that's cool. Huh. You know, why not?
Yeah. Any final? We already went longer than I thought we would. But again, I could do this all afternoon. Any final thoughts for this particular podcast about Justice League: The Snyder Cut?
Zack Snyder is my new bestie. That's all I have to say.
Wow.
Perfect.
Really? Please? Wow. Okay, this is where I'm gonna get a little bit Hard Knocks touch of reality. I think you got to come into this movie with tempered expectations and just be prepared to sort of embrace the comic book parallels and vision or visuals that you're getting. And if you're coming in and you're expecting like a perfect cinematic experience, you're not going to get it. But if you let yourself enjoy it, maybe you need to watch it in 2 parts, in 2 sittings, you know, so you don't get burdened by the runtime. I think there's a way to enjoy this movie. I really do.
Mm-hmm. I agree with both of you. I think that this is a different take on superhero. This is not a Marvel movie. And I think the biggest problem with the DC cinematic universe is that they were trying to pivot into being more like Marvel. And I think it's a disservice. I think at the very least, this movie's more tonally consistent than the other Justice League. Marcus, you said it in your review, and I completely agree. I don't know if we'd be having this much praise for the movie if there wasn't already a worse version that exists.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot more fun to just be like, wow, that sucked before, and it's a lot better now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So I wonder if you took someone in a vacuum that like had no knowledge of the situation, just showed them this, what they would think. I also think that the 4x3 was a scam, so that way they wouldn't have to render the special effects for 20% of the screen. That's my theory, and I've been pushing it around.
There are like 2,000 new effects shots in this movie or something.
There's so many effects, and I think
but that's how they afford it. They're saving.
Someone said, I mean, if you think about how much it costs to fill a frame, if they said we could do 20% less of it, and how that equates to dollars, I feel like that conversation had to have happened.
What's the final verdict on the 4x3? Because at first I heard that it was optimized for IMAX. Then I heard that it was Zack Snyder wanting these heroes to be in this stature where they look like really tall and imposing.
Yeah.
I think he just was like, it's cooler that way. I want it that way. It's like the same reason why he does like black and white cuts of his movies. He's like, oh, look, it looks cooler. He could try to make up a reason, but it's because he just thinks it looks cooler.
Yeah. I completely agree. Or the saving money. That's why I think. Marcus, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you are ever in the LA area and want to come over and watch the Sucker Punch director's cut, it's got the full performance.
How many hours extra is it though?
I think it's got a solid 45 minutes extra packed in there.
Then I'm in.
Has a full song and dance number. I'm sure you're familiar. Over the credits, they sing that Oscar Isaac sings that song on stage, and you're like, where was this? Well, that whole sequence is in the movie. You get way more John Hamm than you ever got in the original version. So please, you're welcome to come and join me. We'll make some popcorn and we'll watch the Sucker Punch cut. Where can other people find you, find more of your stuff?
You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Cosmonaut Variety Hour. Yeah, that's where I talk about movies with superheroes in them. Everyone should
definitely check out Marcus's stuff. But I just had something that just rocked my world, and it's breaking here.
Oh my gosh, what is this?
Well, James, there are 3 versions of Sucker Punch. There's the 3 theatrical. There's the theatrical release. There's the extended edition, which is what you've seen.
Yes.
There is a Snyder cut, an unreleased director's cut of the Sucker Punch.
Wait, hold on. Is this what are we using to determine Snyder cuts now, or just his dreams?
This is on Screen Rant. Zack Snyder has confirmed from April 2020. Zack Snyder has confirmed that his director's cut of Sucker Punch has also yet to see the light of day. Snyder nevertheless made it clear that the extended cuts edition still don't fully restore his vision of the movie.
Oh my God.
He's going to do this with every movie now. It's going to be like Rise of the Guardians is going to have a Snyder cut.
The movie's director, DP Larry Fong, has spoken of Snyder's cut as having extended musical numbers with the ending also being different.
Oh, that's significant. Wow. The ending being different is significant.
Yeah, but please, everyone, go check out Cosmonaut Marcus.
Yes, it's great, wonderful, well thought out. I mean, again, part of the reason I wanted to have you on is because I watch your videos and I go, I agree with that. So
finally,
not exactly challenging my worldviews.
No,
but
echo chamber.
I love it. But no, they're great videos. They're super well done. I'm really glad we finally got to have you on. Thank you so much. Love to have you back. Love to have you back sometime if you're free.
Yeah, totally.
So it's great. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching, listening, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Filmhaus.
Black and white as the intended.